Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are reviewing the Sopranos Season 1, and today we've made it. We are here at the season finale for this episode 13 titled, I Dream of Jeannie Cusamano. So if you haven't watched this episode yet, this is the season finale. It's where all the big juicy stuff happens. So this is your spoiler alert to go watch the episode and then come back and listen to our conversation. So Sarah, do you want to kick us off with a summary for this season finale?
Yes, I'm going to once again choose the HBO summary because the IMDb summary gives way too much away.
Okay.
It's an annoying trend from this season. So the summary is, Tony is stunned to learn who arranged the attempt on his life.
All right. That is juicy. Some reveals are finally come to light.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarah, tell me your episode title of choice for this season finale.
My title is Stupid, Sick, Twisted Logic.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like it. I would click on that episode. Great choice. My episode title is The Little Things.
Honestly, though, they're important. They're important.
Yes. Okay, well, let's dive in. Lots happens in this episode. It is the finale of the season. We've been waiting to see how this season would end and where. So I'm curious if the season finale was satisfying to you, satiating, or if it left you wanting more.
Yeah, this season finale really worked for me. I I kept thinking about our Alien Earth experience because that was what we reviewed right before we jumped into The Sopranos. Very different experiences, and how I feel like in the Alien Earth finale. I'm sorry that we're gonna keep dumping on Alien Earth, but like during that season finale, I had so many questions and none of them were answered. And I was so frustrated the whole time. And I feel like with The Sopranos, what this show has done consistently is it brings up a question and then it either answers it or it complicates it. And so throughout the entire season, you have your little bucket of questions. Some of them have been resolved, some of them are still outstanding. And in this season finale, to me, it did feel like an appropriate ending for the season, and some questions were answered, some weren't, and it leaves enough that I felt very satisfied. But I also want to keep watching because there's so many things that I want to know what's going to happen next. And so I feel like The Sopranos throughout the entire season, but especially in this episode, really toes that line between satiating you enough so that you are satisfied and you don't feel like the show has wasted your time, and leaving you enough open-ended things that you have to keep watching. So I feel like the finale is perfectly in line with what we've seen from the rest of the season.
Yeah, this is a classic Sopranos move, which is to make us feel like we've been fed, and yet I'm still ready for more. I mean, this, for all intents and purposes, could have been an episode in a longer season, and it wouldn't feel that out of place. I think a lot of times in shows today, the finale is big and dramatic and high action and huge in scale, and it is the pinnacle of the entire build up, because a lot of shows, especially now, do a long build up with a ton of tension, and then the finale feels like when everything is going to get answered. And we do get a lot of answers, but it's quite matter of fact, this season finale, in tone. We take some people out, we make some plans, but it doesn't lean into the big action, high tension, high drama nature of what they could have done with this showdown between Tony and Junior, the big dramatic reveal with his mother. It could play up so much more of the drama, and yet it chooses not to, which I think is just a fascinating choice. And I think it actually adds a lot more of the emotion and feeling to the moments where it chooses to deploy big drama. So I mean, we have to talk about the the sequence where Tony arrives at the hospital. Like, for so much of the episode, I am waiting to see Tony's true reaction to the news. And we are waiting and we are waiting. He seems to be fine. He seems to be fine. And it's because the rest of the episode is not super big and dramatic that that one sequence where he's at the hospital and he's confronting his mother feels incredibly weighty. But I thought it was neat because we don't get a big explosive reaction from him immediately. It's actually much, much later. And because everything around that moment is very matter of fact, and we're kind of trudging along on all of our storylines, it adds more drama to that scene. So I think I was surprised by how restrained and matter of fact in tone that this episode was.
Well, and what I really love about this episode is that you feel the tension and the like explosivity almost like bubbling beneath the surface too. Like that is what I found myself feeling. I was so tense the entire time because everyone seemed to be at a breaking point in this episode. And I wasn't sure who was going to break first and what that was going to look like. So even when Tony confronts Dr. Melfi in her office. Terrifying. Like that is such an explosive moment. And then you see, the confrontation at the hospital, of course. And then just these little things of, what's going on with Artie. And then he pops off at Tony, and Christopher is just always a wild cannon ready to go. And we see him confronting Mikey, and then we see Carmela confronting the priest. And so I love how it's not just Tony that's at a breaking point in this episode. It's almost everyone that we have been following throughout this entire season. And I think that that also just ratchets up the tension and makes it an even more like thrilling episode to watch. Even if you don't have those big like melodramatic moments, you don't have these like big explosions or whatever. It's that simmering beneath the surface tension and that uncertainty of who's going to break and what that's going to look like. That just, I don't know, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody is starting to break down, but no one has truly broken down fully, which I think is an interesting choice of this episode to propel us forward into the next season. Like, people confront each other, so it feels satisfying and cathartic, things we've been waiting for. But no one's actually like fully lost their mind in this episode. Like, everyone's still holding it together. And I think that's interesting too. It's like we've let a little bit out, but like not too much, like enough for us to feel like there's been progress, confrontations have been made that need to have been had, that have been brewing and stewing throughout the entire season. But there feels like there's so much more in everyone that is still waiting to be released. And that's fun. The pressure cooker of what is going to happen in season two that's going to cause even more of the stuff inside of everybody to come out a little bit more. So it's like if we're all like toothpaste like tubes, we've squeezed a little bit out of everybody, but like there's so much more left in there of colors and sides of them and truths that have not been spoken yet that I think are waiting to still emerge. And I think that's really, really fun too.
And we want to see it too. Like we are so invested in these characters. And I feel like that's what this season has done so well is we've gotten to know all of these different people. They're all so colorful. They're all so interesting. The way that they live their lives is so interesting. Their relational dynamics is interesting. Like just everything about this family is we just want to know more. And I think that's also the strength of this finale is it didn't need to rely on spectacle. because we're just seeing those points of tension and stress from these characters that we've already gotten to know and love. And that's just an interesting thing to watch. What do people do when they are under stress? And I mean, that's like kind of the whole point of TV is like we set up a stressful situation for characters and just see how they respond. And I feel like this season finale of The Sopranos just utilizes that so well because everybody is under stress. Everybody's in a difficult position. And it's just entertaining to see, okay, how is Christopher going to respond? What is Tony going to do next? Like, we just want to know because we are invested in these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the volatility of their stressful states, it's just refreshing to see that it's not hugely highs and lows in like these big long dramatic uh long periods, like there's moments of stress expressed, like Tony's explosion at Dr. Melfi in the office, but then he has to like hold it back together again. And I think it's interesting to think about maybe like the Sopranos and the stress in the situation with like the bear, where we see that the range and volatility of their stress is greater. The highs are high, the lows are low, and all of the colors are like super saturated, which is really satisfying and fun. But also like I think there's something that's like feels really reflective of like day to day life about the Sopranos, which is just different. Like this reflects more closely how we probably deal with stress in our lives, which is these moments of catharsis and an outbreak, and then we got to keep going. Like people are there's deadlines and demands and new situations and emotional dynamics that, like Tony, he's having to find himself respond to and react to. And I think that's an interesting aspect of The Sopranos is like it's this slow, constant simmer and these ebbs and flows, but the heights of them feel like the show's choosing to not indulge in them in really big ways, which I think is really satisfying to watch.
Yeah, they feel like real people, and the whole season has, I feel like, done that really well of showing them in normal everyday situations that we also might find ourselves in, even if we're not, part of the mob. And so I think that that's a really important like strength of The Sopranos is that it is so grounded in reality. And because the premise is really fantastical. Obviously the mob is a real thing that does exist in the world, but we're used to seeing mob movies and it's so larger than life. And I love that The Sopranos is so grounded, and there are moments of violence and all of the things that we expect from a mob story, but it also just feels like these are just regular people that are just going about their lives. And that is part of what I think makes this show so fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what's also really gratifying to us as a viewer is that nothing is wasted. So one of the things that we were wondering, especially when you land at the end of a season, is to see how all of the dots connected as you look backwards. Every plot point, every character dynamic, how is it eventually used? And we feel very unsatisfied when nothing is used. And it felt like they're just open threads. Shout out Alien Earth. But in The Sopranos, this season finale, it feels like there's these side tangents that we explored that ultimately came to fruition. So a great example of this is the whole Artie plot line and his naive nature as a person in this world, that the trust he has in people, but also his awareness of the rules of this world and choosing to defy them sometimes. But Artie's is the primary pawn that is used by Livia, and then is then the person that confirms to Tony that Livia has been plotting against him. It was almost very clear to him from the tapes, but it's Artie and his naive nature and believing what Livia says, going back to Tony, choosing to like include all of those details and every little detail that Livia's voiced to him. including the detail of it being from his mother, that is the thing that is like the nail in the coffin for Tony's trust in his mother. And I think that's really neat to see the way that Artie's nature is almost used by Livia, but then used against Olivia to confirm this key, huge revelation for Tony. And I think Tony knowing that Artie's nature is to be maybe a little bit more naive, a little bit more innocent, that he wouldn't be like plotting and scheming is also necessary for him to believe and buy into this. So he knows and can trust that Artie's not trying to throw shade and throw his mom on the bus. That really happened because Artie's trusting and he wouldn't lie to him. And so I think that's really neat to see the way that Artie is a huge piece of this puzzle. And we spend so much time with him over the course of the season. We've always been wondering why. And now it makes sense.
Yeah, I loved that arty piece of it. And I think to your point, nothing is wasted in this show. And that just builds so much trust in the show. Like there are 6 seasons of The Sopranos, and after watching this first season, like I trust the show. Like I'm obviously excited to go on this journey with all of these characters and see what happens and all the twists and turns, but like I have so much trust in the writers of this show because they didn't waste anything in this season. The other thing that I thought was really notable in the season finale is bringing back the priest again. You know, we saw him very briefly in the previous episode, and that was just a little like tee up to his pretty prominent role in this episode that then leads to some really interesting things from Carmela. And I love how that whole journey has gone, because the whole season we've been asking questions about Carmela. We want to know everything about her. What is going on in her head? There is more to her than meets the eye. And then I feel like in this episode, we finally got to see that when she's telling off Father Paul. It was so satisfying to watch her just go off on him and speak some really good truth to him that he was not prepared to hear. So it was so satisfying on so many levels, the way that that particular storyline was kind of tied in a little bow in this episode.
Yes, yes. We have been wondering, like you mentioned, about her the entire time. Does she see clearly her place in this world, how to navigate this world, holding power, or is she choosing to be naive in a lot of these instances? And is she kind of a fool, missing the dynamics, like following these desires and curiosities that are leading her astray? And right now in this point in time, Carmela sees clearly. And she's also becoming more fearless too, much more bold in her voicing those truths to the people that matter or to the people that she knows hold power. So even her choosing to like affirm and validate Tony's suspicions and even raising her suspicions about his mother to him before he might have even been ready is securing her place as a valuable, it sounds terrible to say because they're married and like, they have a family together, but like she's securing her place as like valuable eyes and ears for Tony to help protect him, to help him see what's going on around him in the areas that he is most weak in, most prone to be emotionally manipulated, and so this is the most satisfying Carmela development that I think we've seen all season. It's cool to see the way that like her eyeliner is reflective of her state in this episode. I thought that was some interesting choices where Homegirl is laying that on there a little heavier, and she is choosing to be bolder, be more fearless, be courageous, and voice some hard things to their face or to the people they care about, And I love to see this woman who is probably underestimated by everybody in her life stick it to a lot of people. It's really satisfying to see.
Yeah, because even I don't even remember. It was a few episodes ago with Adriana and Christopher, and Adriana says something like, "Yeah, I'm not going to end up like Carmela," and so you see how she isn't respected by other members of this family. But we're starting to see there's more to Carmela than meets the eye. We were right. we knew that there was more to her. And so it's just so satisfying to see it to start to like eke out just a little bit.
Yes. Yes. And if that's the arc for her in this season, ooh, what are we going to get to see of Carmela in the next season as well? Okay, we have to talk about Livia. She is honestly like incredible acting, big A acting. Like she's put on a great show for everybody, but not good enough because people are onto her. So, yeah, tell me your thoughts about. I think there's still more questions about Livia than answers, honestly, after this episode. But tell me your thoughts about what they do with Livia in this finale.
Oh my gosh. Livia will never not be interesting. Like I every time she's on screen, I'm like, "Yes, I need to know more. Please tell me more about yourself." What I love about this episode is like clearly the show is like, okay, Livia can't be trusted. We've established that. We don't like super know her motivation
Yeah,
for why she ordered a hit on her son. Like, what?
yeah,
Who does that? But I love that, at least for me, when when the doctor is like, "Hey, she had a stroke." In my head, I'm going, "How do you fake a stroke?" Or like, how can you like you wouldn't like induce a stroke on yourself. Like, what? What is going on? So I love that we know we can't trust Livia. We know that she's been manipulating everybody around her. But then there's a stroke. It's like, is she actually sick and manipulating everybody? Is this just like way overblown, out of control manipulation? Like, what is going on? And we don't know. Because even when Tony was like yelling, like, she's smiling, it could be interpreted as her smiling, or she just had a stroke.
yeah,
Like, and she
yeah,
doesn't have control over her body. So I love, 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 love that we end up with more questions and answers about Livia. And we don't exactly know where she stands. And
yeah.
we just know that we can't trust her, but we don't know the extent to which we shouldn't trust her. And I think that's so smart to do, especially now
Mhm.
that Tony is like, "Ah, I can't trust her. She ordered a hit on me." Like, he's freaking out. It's so smart of the show to introduce that like questioning in us as the audience now.
Yeah, yeah. And why? I think it's still the question of the hour. Like, will we ever find out? Is that the thing that will propel us forward? In a lot of ways, Livia's the star of the show, you know? Like, sorry, Tony, but I think your mother is outshining you truly because she is orchestrating every plot point. Like everything we've seen happen over the course of the season, Olivia's been behind it or pulling the strings in some way or planting the right seeds to get the characters around her to move this plot forward. So honestly, she's a shining star of The Sopranos season 1 in my book. And I think what's also fascinating too in Tony's revelation about his mother is his ability to articulate so quickly and so clearly the shame that he's experiencing because of what his mother has done against him. You know, I think that is that Dr. Melfi's work has been doing very good, but it also is impressive to see how much in that conversation that he has with Carmela, you know, in their bedroom before they're going to bed that night, like he feels anger, but ultimately what he's feeling is shame. How could somebody's own mother want to do this to him, you know? And so he's seeing Tony's initial reaction be internalizing it into himself versus pushing the anger externally, which we do see he does at the end. But the first reaction he has is shame and feeling like he's not good enough, that he's worthless. Because I mean, in general, this is like an unfathomable revelation to experience. I actually think that the show is almost so a matter of fact that when I really think about it more, I'm like, this is wild to have found out for Tony. And he's so calm, and the show is so matter of fact that you're like, no, he's got a lot of issues that he's going to have to deal with over time because this is an unfathomable thing to realize that is happening to you. But his ability to so quickly articulate with clarity that it is self shame that he's experiencing is very impressive, and I think makes us love and buy into Tony even more. That he's quite aware of himself and aware of his internal state. And I think for the show has painted him from the beginning of the season to be kind of disconnected from himself and running from himself and avoidant and whatnot. But in this episode, he's quite in tune with himself, and that's great to see. Progress, self growth.
Yes, we love progress. We love that, going to therapy has helped Tony.
It has.
It's just it's wonderful to see. But I think also just shout out to James Gandolfini's performance in this episode. Like, he's great always. But in this episode, I loved all of the subtle things that he's doing too. Cause like Tony feels like he needs to maintain that facade of,
Yeah.
I am okay, I am in charge, we're just going about life as if I have not just had this huge bomb dropped on me. I need to continue going about my business. But you see under the surface that he is not okay. And I think it's just in like these little looks and these little mannerisms that you see, and that this is really eating at him. Like, I love when he's listening to the tape and it's just this close up on his face. And you can just see so much happening just in the little muscles in his face. And that is incredible. So I loved his performance in this. He's been fantastic all season, but I feel like he really shines in all of the subtle things that he's doing in this episode.
Oh my gosh, that scene is crazy. Yeah. And you see his mind fighting itself too. Like questioning whether he's being manipulated. But then ultimately I think his intuition is saying there's something here. Like there is something here. But that revelation is so unfathomable that like you why would you want to believe that? Of course you're going to choose denial for a period of time because that would be wild to admit and to realize that that is what's happening. And so you see all of those voices in his mind fighting each other, battling each other. And yet he is in front of the FBI, in front of the feds too. So he has to hold it all together. And then you just think about how many times Tony's had to do this again and again and again of holding it together while in front of the people around him while there's so much stewing within him. So makes sense why he needed all those sessions with Dr. Melfi. I also think it's a really great like moment written for Tony's leadership in the way that he chooses to exhibit this like radical candor with his capos and choosing to say, let's sit them down and look, this is what's been happening. Before you hear from anybody else, I want you to hear from me. Please share. Like let's talk about this. And I think that is a fascinating moment even while Tony is going through the worst possible revelation, he is exhibiting these incredible leadership traits in creating transparency, creating vulnerability, creating trust with his men that is quite admirable. So I think that is also fascinating to see that like these really sterling parts of his character and the way he leads his people are still able to shine through even while he's experiencing like the most wild world shaking revelation possible. So the strength of his leadership I think was also quite on display in this episode, and that was really neat to see. A great moment from the writers to offer this really interesting counterbalance for Tony's volatility but also his strength and his wisdom and how he leads.
It's also just so fascinating to contrast this episode with the episode from it was a few episodes ago, after Salvatore goes missing and Tony is in bed for days. And you would expect that this revelation about his mom would lead him to be in bed for days,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. And I think that that's another really just fascinating piece of Tony's character. And I mean, we know that he has some obviously like mom issues, clearly. Hello. But we see
Yeah.
how, you know, mistrusting his friend's disappearance weighs on him in a very different way than the revelation that his mom put the hit out on him. And his responses to those, I think, just reveal a lot about his character. And maybe he's just in adrenaline mode right now. And he just knows, okay, this is the revelation. We're going to have to deal with this later, but I have to act. And so I appreciate that we've seen Tony responding to difficult information in two different ways, and kind of seeing how
Yeah.
he relates differently to the people around him, or he responds differently based on what the news is. And you see those kind of contrasting parts of who Tony is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And Salvatore's still missing, like that's a great seed for us to sink our teeth into and to follow and stir on while we wait for season two. Like I every time they would mention him, I'm like, oh yeah, one of your men is like entirely gone and missing. That's not good. And you still don't know if he's alive, if he's dead, if he's been taken out, is he been taken by the feds? Is it by Junior's team? Like, no, that's terrifying. That is still I kept forgetting that that was a whole plot line from a whole episode that is still waiting to be answered as well. So yeah.
And I think that's
Other
the brilliance of the show is like there's so many different characters, there's so
yes.
many different plot lines, and you forget about stuff cuz like there's a lot going on. And so the show is so smart to remind us of those things. Like how the priest showed up in the previous episode and then he's a main focal point here. You know, we keep hearing them talk about Salvatore, but he's not here. So that just keeps coming up in our mind when we forget. So The Sopranos is just, I feel like, really in tune with us as viewers and our propensity to forget things, especially if you're watching this like week to week.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget stuff, but The Sopranos makes sure that you are caught up without having to do a lot of like exposition or anything. It's just like, nope, it's just integrated into the episode, which I think is a
Mhm.
really, really good choice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That all of the many, many, many threads of the show all are woven together in specific ways at the right time too. Uh, One of the moments that I really loved in this episode, which I think is continuing to be a really great foil to Tony's character, is Junior and the choices that Junior makes in this episode. It's specifically the scene where he's been taken in and he's given this choice by the feds to the feds are after the New York families primarily. I think that like the New Jersey families are like a stepping stone for them to get to bring down the full set of the system. And he's given this offer to publicly say essentially that Tony is the one that's been running the show the entire time in exchange for government witness protection, safety, comfort, whatever. So the choice he has before him is basically to stick to his pride or loyalty to the family versus safety and comfort for himself. And I love the line that the writers gave Junior, which is to scoff at the idea that Tony could be running this the entire time, which means that he's choosing to protect the family, but not out of protection for the family. It's because of his own pride. So he's choosing to actually protect his own reputation. And I love that the show is so clear about Junior's choice with how he chooses to answer that FBI agent. And I thought that was so interesting because it is this moment, like this character has been pressed. He's under stress. He's under pressure. The toothpaste tube is being squeezed and we're waiting to see what comes out. In this moment of crisis, will Junior choose to protect his family and or not? Or will he choose comfort? Will he choose a better life for himself for his final years? And I love that the show is making clear what his choice is, but also the motivation behind it is not altruistic in any way. It is actually an incredibly selfish choice. So I loved that moment because I thought when it was that scene was happening, I was thinking to myself, man, this is such a character defining moment for who Junior ultimately is. And what we see is that ultimately, at this point in time, he is choosing his own selfish pride and his own reputation over his nephew, over the family, over safety and comfort. And that is what his ultimate choice has been. And so I loved that scene. It is very consistent with that character, but to see him ultimately still double down on it is, oh, it was a quite a juicy scene.
The other aspect of that scene that I really loved is how lifeless Junior's eyes are in that scene. There's
Yeah,
no expression, there's no response, there's nothing. He is a brick wall as the
yeah,
FBI guy is like listing all of these things and like, oh,
yeah,
you're a pawn and Tony. And so, like, to your earlier point, how mellow comparatively this season finale is, that was a perfect opportunity for Junior to either like puff his chest and be like, no, I'm the one in charge,
yeah.
blah, 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 or to be like shocked and like, oh, Tony was running it the whole, like, there was so many opportunities in that conversation for melodrama, and the show just completely avoids all of that. And Junior is just a wall. He is just, there's nothing going on there. There's no emotion there. And I think that that also makes that moment so thrilling because it subverts so many of our expectations.
Ooh. And I think it also actually adds tension to that scene because we don't know what his answer is going to be and we can't read him. You know, he's not this like shriveling, groveling performance where you think that he's probably going to choose like, oh, okay, let me just like sell my soul and rat out my family. No, we don't know what is stewing in him. Has he expected this? Has he been prepared for this moment this entire time? Is he caught off guard? Is he resolute? No idea. Not a clue. And his ultimate comment really reveals his cards, but up until that point, it's a crapshoot. We have no idea what to expect from him.
Oh, so good.
Uh, Other like interesting writing choices that I really loved in this finale is in the ending scene uh, of the entire episode. We get a really interesting conversation with Polly and Silvio and them discussing Tony's leadership. And I think that it's these like menacing little seeds that are just scattered a little bit for what they could be thinking or feeling as this new game board is being ushered in, where Tony is inevitably going to be boss in both action and in name, which they call out. And there's not enough there for us to really latch onto anything yet. But I don't think, for the most part, over the show, we haven't seen these two discuss in depth much about Tony. They're often in scenes with Tony, but we haven't seen the two of them discuss the game board and what's happening and their thoughts and commentary about Tony. And it almost felt like they were feeling each other out and seeing if there is a potential alliance here or not, as someone else that they know is coming into power and new opportunities are opening up for them, you know? And so I thought that was just an interesting way to complicate and cast a little bit of doubt on these two characters that, for the most part, we've seen have been incredibly loyal, incredibly faithful to their leader. But I don't know. They're talking about him without him there and have some thoughts and are trying to like do this little dance together. So I think that is making for some interesting potential plot lines to come that I didn't expect, because we've come to know to expect with these two. But the show's like, nothing is ever safe, you know, especially not in this world. You never know who is going to betray you, who's going behind your back. Tony's position is never secure, and he knows it. That's why there's so much anxiety all the time. and this is why.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if his own mother put out a hit on him, like no one is safe. Like when
Yeah.
is he ever safe? So I think uh what the show has done really well, especially in these last couple episodes, is showing those dangers from inside of Tony himself, inside
Mm,
his family and his circle of trust, and then the external threats as well. And so we're seeing, even in this ending little like happy moment when the whole family is together, that those dangers still exist. And like you said, Tony is not safe and he never will be safe. And that's part of what he signed up for. And he's well aware of that. But man, how is he going to handle another betrayal if it comes, when it comes? And we will find out because we got a bunch more seasons to get through.
yes. Yes. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. Any other big moments that we wanted to call out, mention from this episode before we give out some awards?
Yeah, I thought what's going on with Dr. Melfi in this episode is pretty interesting because we've seen her um, you know, getting a little too friendly, getting a little too interested, getting a little too close. And I feel like in this episode, she gets the first brush with the danger that she like intellectually knew was involved with this, but hadn't experienced before. Um, and seeing that physical threat to her safety from Tony himself too, I thought was really interesting because he's gotten in her face before, he's threatened her before, he's been explosive before, but this is a whole different level. And so I'm just so curious to see. Obviously, she leaves, she goes on vacation. What will their relationship be in season two? Like, would you continue to retain him as a client after that? So
Yeah.
I have so many questions about Dr. Melfi, but I'm glad that she is on a quote unquote vacation. And I just hope that she's okay because she got a little too close here.
She did. And I think what's interesting about their interactions is that the connection, the chemistry, the affection that both Dr. Melfi and Tony have for each other is so palpable. It's very strange, it's very weird, it's very uncomfortable, but it's kind of undeniable. Like there's a protectiveness they both feel towards each other, and there's a deep care that is it's kind of sweet and kind of really twisted all at the same time. But you see that I mean, she is breaking every like client patient rule by casting suspicion and accusation at his mother for plotting this whole thing without a lot of evidence. Honestly, her intuition was happens to be correct, but it's out of this like almost this desperate protectiveness for him that she just can't help but make sure that he knows, because she doesn't want him to be caught off guard. It's just like the way that I don't know, I feel like I see this often with mothers that just like can't help but like come in and tell you everything that you might face in your next season or the potholes that are ahead of you, because they just want to protect you, and you feel that same like desperation and urgency in Dr. Melfi's interaction with Tony. And I just think that like their relationship is very interesting, and I think that there's hopefully more to be told there, because for all intents and purposes, like what Dr. Melfi has said about Tony has been true, which is that he seeks like female nurturing protection and safety. And honestly, Dr. Melfi is this weird stand in for that for him right now. And so, how will that continue to be this strange, codependent, complicated relationship that they have? But it is very revealing for Tony's like deepest desires and where he's finding like strange versions of it in his life. So, she plays such a vital role for us to understand Tony. And I'm also curious, is the show interested in exploring more of who Dr. Melfi is too? Or is she more of a piece in the orbit of Tony that is helping us understand him? Like, is the show going to double click a little bit into her a little bit more? Because we did get more scenes where we learn about her personal life and her views and whatnot. So her character is unraveling for us as well. So is the show interested in doing more of that or not? Will be interesting to see. All right. Well, let's give out some TVNS awards. The first category is for most family oriented. What is your choice for this one?
I want to give this to Artie for visiting Livia in the hospital and bringing her pasta. I just thought that that was so sweet.
He's such a sweet character.
He is.
Great candidate for being manipulated.
Mhm. Yep, he makes some bad choices, but there's always this like kernel of goodness. I'm like, oh, Artie, you're too sweet to be in this show.
Yeah, no, really, really. And his wife knows it too.
Yes. Oh, she's
But
great. She knows what's going on. Artie is clueless.
that's very clueless. But yeah, that was a great little moment. My choice for most family oriented is Carmela. Let's freaking go. She's being a truth
Yes.
teller to the people in her life. She's unafraid to tell Tony some hard things in order to protect him. So very good. Carmela's transformation is beginning, and
Hmm.
she's looking out for her people.
We love it. We love to see it.
Most explosive moment is the next category. What is your choice for this one?
I want to give this to when Tony breaks the glass table and gets into Dr. Melfi's face. I feel like that was such an inflection point.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I was scared for her, and I was sitting safely at my on my couch. Like, so I love how that really did feel like an explosion happened.
Yeah.
The episode had been like pretty chill, we got some revelations,
Yeah.
we got some dramatic things happening, and then, whoa, Tony explodes.
Yeah, I mean it feels like the first moment where he feels safe enough to face the thing he already knows to be true, you know? And so
Mhm.
of course this explosion of emotion he felt could be shared here. Uh but that's scary.
It was very
My
scary.
choice for most explosive moment is Polly getting poison ivy while he's chasing Mikey. It's like
It's so good.
so much is happening here. It's very comical, very funny,
Mhm.
and I actually thought he was doing a bit. Like I thought he was like trying
Me too.
to, yeah, have a little fun with it, throw Mikey
Mhm.
off a little bit. No, he got his lotions on there by the final scene.
He'll be
Double,
okay.
yeah, double meaning dialogue. What is your choice for this one?
I want to give this to Tony when he says, "I just passed my Coast Guard test," which
That
apparently
is my
translates to,
too.
who knew that the Coast Guard test meant we're going to murder a dude at sea?
Yep, yep.
I
So,
just I want to know what the like mobster to like normal citizen dictionary, like I need one of those. Like where you
yep.
can see, okay, what does this mean? Uh I love that.
Yeah, because I think he says it in the conversation where he's like, "We got to do it so that's discreet." I just, you
Yeah,
know, I got this tool. It's available to us. That's my pick too. Actually,
it's so good.
that's great. Okay, looking ahead to season 2, what would you be excited to see?
Oh man. Just more Livia. Got all the questions about her. More Carmela coming into her own, speaking truth.
Yes.
Yes, seeing, we just talked about Dr. Melfi, everything that's going on with her. And then of course we've talked about the danger to Tony, like it's one thing to be the like person behind the scenes kind of pulling all the strings and making everything happen. It's a whole nother thing to actually be the one in charge. And so what is that going to do to Tony and his relationships? What additional dangers are going to come in? Like, just, it really does feel like everything has changed getting ready for season 2. And
Yeah.
I'm so curious to see where the show goes, because it could go in a million different directions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a new state of the world. The threats of the feds is also growing and increasing. So that intensity continues to rise. It's interesting because so much of the game board does feel like it's changed, but there's a lot that's still the same and a lot that is just intensified. And the combination of those things, I think, is really fun to see. Like a lot of the people's places in this world are the same. It's just we've moved almost the same game board to a more intense, higher stake board. But the positioning of everyone, for the most part, in their loyalties, with like Polly and Silvio, for what we know now, with Artie, with all of the relationships with Hesh, like nothing has been significantly broken. But there are these gaps now that are being ready to be filled. So yeah, I think I'm just excited to see uh, more of this world. It feels like we've just begun, even though we've done a whole season, you know? And that's an exciting feeling. I'm like, we've just dipped our toes in. Like this feels like we've got acquainted with the world now, And there's I'm just excited by all of the toothpaste left in the tubes in every person in this world. So yeah, there's lots more here. I think the continuing theme of the family unit, I think, is going to be interesting to see too. We're seeing that the children now know much more about what's happening and their awareness has grown. And so that emotional core of this just being an American family looking to survive, I think is going to be interesting to see that play out more with this family, because we end this episode with the family together. So that feels like some things are about to happen, because that's too sweet. That's too nice and stable right now. So I wonder if we'll ever know the why for Olivia, or we'll never know. She's just going to pass and we're never going to figure it out. But I want to know why, Olivia.
Yes.
What is your goal here? So, TLDR is basically, I'm down for whatever the Sopranos season 2 wants to do. Like, it's going to be great. It's going to be incredible. Yes. We just want to spend more time in this world with these interesting characters. We're kind of an open book, like ready for it to write on whatever it wants to write. Yeah.
And I think that's the great thing about the show. Like, I feel like every one of our like up next or looking aheads is like, yeah, we have these things, but also just like, where's the show going to go next? Because we're down for whatever. And just, I know that this show is beloved and we've heard for years, like, oh my gosh, you need to watch The Sopranos. And we know it got all the awards and all the accolades and all of the things, but like, it's so much better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And just the trust that I have in this show, that wherever it's going to go, it's going to be good. That is so exciting. Because I don't know, I feel like shows that I feel like that about are so rare. But The Sopranos it's that good. So we're buckled in. We are here for this ride, wherever The Sopranos is going to go next.
Yes. Yes. We are excited. We're so glad we tackled this season 1 under our belts. We're gearing up for season 2. Excited to see what's going to happen next. So this was our review and discussion of this season 1 finale. You can find it available on HBO Max. Thank you for listening to today's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories. So everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you spent time with us today as we continue our journey and our long, hopefully exciting adventure through the world of Sopranos. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your thoughts about the season 1 finale. You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TVNSPod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on TV and Us and our other podcast, Movies and Us. We'll be back soon with more TV and Us content, with some hooked content, and stay tuned to see what show we will be discussing next. And as we dive into a new world, we hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again with y'all very soon.